Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. This is Nick's emergency warning. While Kyle Abbott and Claire Newman dig a deeper hole, Nick Newman will issue an emergency warning. Claire will continue to be upset about Kyle's covert arrangement with Victor Newman, so he will attempt to talk his way out of more problems with her. Kyle might be forced to reveal the $5 million he promised to pay if he crushed Claire's heart because she won't let this go unpunished. Kyle would believe that this should demonstrate the depth of his devotion because he also promised to leave town if he broke the agreement. Claire, regrettably, will not tolerate the secrecy or being treated like a piece of property at the center of a contract. Even though Kyle is making an effort to clarify, he will only make his already shaky relationship worse. Nick will attempt to put Phyllis Summers on high alert over Kane Ashby's proposal during an urgent meeting with her. Kane's team created AI software that is undetectable and, if deployed in a company's system, can cause havoc. Nick will encourage Phyllis to stay away from something so dark since he will presume that Kane sought her out for her hacking abilities. If Phyllis is discovered doing something illegal, she might end up in jail. Therefore Nick will do all in his power to keep her out of danger. Despite Kane's previous outburst at the park, Nick and even Kane himself won't be able to stop Phyllis. In relation to the park, Tessa Porter and Daniel Romalotti Jr. will soon have a private moment there. As a result, Daniel will call Tessa lovely and express his emotions more than he has in the past. Given that she is about to make an admission, Mariah Copeland may be able to observe Tessa and Daniel's close relationship. Mariah's disclosure might be more about Tessa and their failed marriage unless she chooses to tell the stranger what transpired during her business trip. During a talk with Sharon Newman, Mariah may confess some regrets and receive guidance on how to pursue love. Victor summons Adam to Newman, where he is informed that they must wait for his siblings. Adam notes that Victoria hasn't returned since Cole's death and questions whether Kane has finally made his move. She says she would never leave the family when she shows up with Nick. All of them are curious as to whether they are already engaged in combat with Kane or if they are preparing for one. Nick, Adam, Victoria. Victor tells his kids about Kane's AI program, which has the ability to destabilize businesses and transfer enormous sums of money until it can be purchased for pennies on the dollar. The Kane Ashby will be stopped. He admits that Kane is the target of his blackmail because of Colin's deception. They will have Ashby turn over his software even if he denied everything. Victoria Victor Y&R. Is Kane going to advance? Lily informs Kane she viewed his video when they meet in the park. She saw a glimpse of the man she once trusted and loved, and it brought tears to her eyes. Kane sits down and inquires as to if she has discussed it with the children. Lily says he needs to exercise patience because she hasn't. For any of them to trust him once more, it will take much more than a video. Kane Lily. Kane maintains that he wasn't searching for an easy solution. Lily is certain that he hasn't changed his mind, but she thinks the regret might be a ruse. Irritated, Kane laments that she simply doesn't want to recognize that he is sincere. According to Lily, he can only demonstrate it by providing truthful responses in the role of Kane. To regain her trust, how much is he prepared to reveal? Will Michael and Phyllis reconcile? Michael leaves Lauren a voicemail at Crimson Lights regarding a lucrative new job opportunity. When Phyllis shows up as he disconnects, he asks, "Who's the lucky boss?" They argue until Phyllis returns his attention to his new position. Kane needs a fixer and has huge ideas, so she's positive it's him. Michael's phone. The fact that Phyllis has been ignoring him and only talking to him now because of Kane has annoyed Michael. They argue over his treachery and stand up for Sharon. Michael is shocked that she still won't let things go. According to Phyllis, it caused her to doubt their unique bond. Michael apologizes in humility. She was also a victim. If he tells Phyllis who he works for, she will completely erase everything. Michael Phyllis. Phyllis gets called out by Michael for attempting to use their friendship as a barter. Phyllis assures him that since she is Kane's second in command, she will find out nonetheless. Michael wants to know if Ashby would agree. Phyllis advises him to accept Kane's offer. He is the greatest in the industry. Michael Phyllis. Who is next to be offended by Phyllis? Lily is in the park and wants to know why Kane is in Genoa City. He maintains that he has abandoned those plans. He still needs to come clean, according to Lily. His thinking about it when Phyllis shows up. Kane and Phyllis engage in a heated argument about whether there is any more arabesque business to discuss. Phyllis Lily Kane. Lily marches off after taking this as proof that Kane's intentions are still in place. Do you have any idea what you've just done? Kane yells at Phyllis. He goes on a tirade about how Phyllis has frequently arrived unexpectedly. Lily believes Red is lying when he claims it's too late, despite his apology. He may not believe their relationship is finished, but Lily does, Phyllis tells him. Kane's desire to recapture the magic with an ex is understandable to Phyllis, but his want to reunite with Lily might simply be a passing fancy. Kane, who is obviously boiling, asks if she's done and then instructs her to pay close attention. Avoid talking to me about my personal life ever again. Do you get what I'm saying? Then he walks away. Kane, Phyllis, who comes to see Victor. Nick, Adam, and Victoria are curious about what their father will do with Kane's hazardous software at Newman. Victoria and Nick hope their father won't take advantage of it. Kane didn't feel guilty about it. Adam shrugs. As Victor opens his mouth to respond, Michael knocks. Victor dismisses his children and consents to see him. Nick. Victor advises Michael to disregard it if he has come to regain his job. Michael declares that Kane Ashby has already made him a better offer. Given that Kane is aware of their falling out, Victor has naturally been anticipating this. What does the lawyer want? Victor wonders. Before he heard it from someone else, Michael wanted to tell him. Michael refuses to fall for Victor's trap about Lauren making the decisions, asking, "Don't you miss it? Our companionship?" All Victor wants to know is whether he will work for Ashby. Michael. Adam and Nick and Victoria argue about the use of the AI software down at Newman Media. He sounds like the old Adam, Nick thinks. Adam notes that Victor will use it whatever he pleases, so they should probably remain flexible. Nick and Victoria believe it to be unlawful and immoral. Only if we get caught, Adam hesitates. They argue over Kane's ability to weather this storm. Since the technology is undetected, Nick speculates that he may have already begun deploying it against them. Adam believes that Nick's friendship with Kane would be useful at this point. Nick doesn't think he would tell him anything. Victoria suggests that Phyllis, Ashby's hacker, might be able to provide it to him. Adam and Victoria put pressure on Nick, who responds, "No." Victoria says her brother should once more be the redhead's confidant and greatest friend. Michael claims in Victor's office that he hasn't made up his mind regarding Kane's kind offer yet. Victor dismissively suggests that he should take it. Baldwin is shocked that he would desire this. Victor believes that he has somewhat lost it. Although he would actually be working for Kane, Michael understands that he wants him to work for him. He'd get back in that way. Victor is aware that his previous lawyer arrived with the intention of proposing just such a deal. This is Nick's emergency warning, but by the time it arrives, the complicated web of betrayal, love, secrecy, and dangerous alliances is already threatening to implode across Genoa City, pulling in the Abbotts, the Newmans, Kane Ashby, Phyllis, and everyone standing too close to the flames of this latest storm. As Kyle Abbott and Claire Newman dig themselves into an ever-deepening hole, Nick Newman races against time to issue dire cautions that could protect the people he loves, yet his voice of reason may not be enough to stop the chaos about to erupt, because Claire is reeling over the discovery that Kyle has been hiding a covert arrangement with none other than Victor Newman himself, a deal that reeks of manipulation and betrayal. So Kyle finds himself desperately trying to spin explanations, apologies, and empty reassurances in an attempt to save his crumbling relationship with Claire. But her anger only builds with each revelation, as she presses harder for answers and refuses to let his evasions go unpunished. And when Kyle finally realizes he has no choice but to reveal the darkest detail, that he promised to pay $5 million if he shattered her heart, and even pledged to leave Genoa City altogether if he broke his word, Claire's fury ignites like wildfire. Kyle foolishly believes that this twisted contract demonstrates the depth of his devotion, a pledge of his seriousness, but Claire sees it differently, feeling dehumanized, as if her heart is nothing more than a bargaining chip in a power game between men who treat her like property. And while Kyle tries to clarify, to smooth things over, his explanations only dig the hole deeper, shattering the fragile foundation of trust between them and making their already shaky romance all the more combustible. Meanwhile, Nick Newman is juggling more than just his daughter's pain, because Kane Ashby's latest scheme has him on high alert. leading Nick to call an urgent meeting with Phyllis Summers, where he tries to hammer into her the seriousness of the danger at hand, warning her about Kane's seductive new proposal and the sinister technology at the heart of his plan. A revolutionary AI software program that is virtually undetectable, a digital weapon capable of infiltrating companies, destabilizing their systems, and moving money until entire corporations collapse, ready to be bought for pennies on the dollar. Nick is convinced that Kane has targeted Phyllis not because he trusts her, but because of her hacking prowess, knowing she cannot resist a challenge this dark. But Nick implores her to resist, begging her to recognize that if she is caught, she could end up in prison, and he vows to do everything in his power to shield her from Kane's schemes. Yet Nick may not succeed, because despite Kane's recent public outbursts and even his own warnings, Phyllis is already drawn into the orbit of this dangerous offer, determined to prove herself indispensable and unwilling to let Nick dictate her choices. While this battle brews, other lives intersect in quieter but no less meaningful ways, such as when Tessa Porter and Daniel Romalotti Jr. share an intimate moment in the park, where Daniel's long-suppressed feelings spill over as he calls Tessa lovely and admits more than he has in the past, stirring an emotional undercurrent that doesn't go unnoticed, because Mariah Copeland arrives just in time to witness the closeness between her wife and Daniel, and as she wrestles with her feelings, Mariah faces her own confession, debating whether to admit the truth about what really happened on her recent business trip or to redirect her disclosure toward the painful state of her marriage with Tessa, a marriage that feels more fractured with every day. Later, in a heart-to-heart with Sharon Newman, Mariah pours out her regrets and her confusion, seeking guidance on whether love can be salvaged or if it's time to walk away, all while Sharon, ever the sage, offers the kind of gentle wisdom only she can, urging Mariah to fight for what truly matters before it slips away completely. At Newman Enterprises, the stakes rise when Victor summons Adam, only to insist they wait for Victoria's arrival. And though Adam is impatient, he quickly notes Victoria's prolonged absence since Cole's tragic death, bluntly asking if Kane has finally made his move. Victoria soon arrives with Nick, assuring her family she would never abandon them despite her grief, but the entire Newman clan is on edge, questioning whether they are already under attack from Kane's insidious program or merely standing on the precipice of war. And when Victor finally lays out the truth, the full gravity of the threat becomes clear. Kane's AI program is not just dangerous, it's capable of destabilizing global businesses, shifting unimaginable amounts of money, and leaving corporations vulnerable to hostile takeovers, including Newman itself, which could make Victor's empire vulnerable like never before. Victor admits his strategy is to turn Kane's game against him, forcing him to hand over the software under the weight of blackmail tied to Colin Ashby's long history of deceit. But his children, Nick, Victoria, and Adam, are divided over the morality of such a move, with Adam cynically shrugging that Kane showed no guilt, while Nick and Victoria argue bitterly that leveraging such dangerous software is both illegal and immoral, a line Victor has crossed before but one that could destroy them all if misused. As this power struggle unfolds, Kane himself is working his own angles, reconnecting with Lily Winters in the park, where she admits she watched his emotional video and saw a fleeting glimpse of the man she once trusted and loved, a moment that moved her to tears. But Lily holds her ground, reminding him that trust cannot be rebuilt overnight and that their children are not yet ready to believe in him again. Kane insists he isn't seeking easy fixes, but Lily challenges him, accusing him of letting regret serve as a mask rather than genuine change, pushing him to prove his sincerity with full honesty and transparent answers if he truly wants to rebuild their fractured bond. Meanwhile, Michael Baldwin is drawn into the fray when he leaves Lauren a voicemail about a lucrative new job opportunity, only to be cornered by Phyllis moments later, and their ensuing clash exposes old wounds and new manipulations, as Phyllis pushes him for information about his supposed new employer, confident it is Kane, while Michael bristles at her sudden interest after months of avoidance. Their fiery exchange touches on betrayal, loyalty, and the ruins of their once close friendship, as Michael calls her out for trying to use their bond as currency, while Phyllis declares she doesn't need him since she is Kane's second-in-command and will discover the truth anyway, all while dangling her allegiance like a sword over his head. The confrontation leaves Michael torn between loyalty to his moral compass and the tantalizing promise of power, and later, he takes his dilemma straight to Victor, confessing that Kane has already made him an offer but seeking to reveal it before anyone else could twist the story, though Victor, ever the strategist, treats the confession as expected, dismissing Michael's hesitation and challenging him to choose loyalty once and for all. As these battles rage across boardrooms, parks, and private corners of Genoa City, the consequences of Kane's AI program ripple outward, leaving everyone, from Kyle and Claire's crumbling romance to Nick's desperate attempts to protect Phyllis, to Lily's fragile stand against Kane, to the Newman siblings' fight over morality versus power, entangled in a high-stakes drama that promises betrayal, heartbreak, and the possibility of corporate and personal ruin. And while some cling to love, others to ambition, and still others to sheer survival, one thing is clear: Nick's emergency warning may have come just in time. But whether anyone will listen before it's too late remains the question that could define the future of Genoa City itself. The fallout from Nick's emergency warning spreads like wildfire across Genoa City, weaving its way into every corner of the canvas, touching each family, each alliance, and each broken heart with the kind of ripple effect that makes every character question who they can truly trust. And at the center of this tangled mess is Claire Newman, who is still reeling from the devastating revelation that Kyle Abbott had been living under the shadow of a secret deal with Victor Newman, a deal so twisted it reduced her heart to nothing more than collateral, a pawn in a power play where money and pride mattered more than love or honesty. Even as Kyle pours every ounce of energy into explaining himself, insisting that his willingness to risk $5 million and even exile from Genoa City should prove his undying commitment, his words clang hollow in Claire's ears because no matter how passionately he defends himself, the underlying truth remains. He kept her in the dark, and in doing so, he stripped her of agency, reducing their love story to a contract clause. And that is something Claire cannot abide, not after everything she's endured in her tumultuous journey to reclaim her sense of self. Her voice shakes with emotion as she reminds Kyle that she has fought too hard to escape the manipulations of the past to now be treated as a prize to be won or a wager to be settled, and her icy demeanor makes it clear that their already fragile relationship is now hanging by the thinnest of threads. With Kyle on one side desperate to prove himself and Claire on the other unwilling to surrender her dignity, their future teetering on the edge of collapse. But Kyle's crisis is only one part of the storm. Because while he wrestles with the possibility of losing Claire forever, Nick Newman is consumed with another battle entirely. His determination to shield Phyllis Summers from Kane Ashby's sinister influence, a task that grows more daunting by the hour as Phyllis, true to form, rebels against every warning he delivers. Nick sits across from her in the dimly lit crimson lights, his jaw tight, his tone urgent as he paints the full picture of the danger Kane's AI program poses, describing it as a silent, undetectable virus that can infiltrate even the most secure systems, bleed companies dry, and leave them ripe for hostile takeovers, all while its creator laughs in the shadows. But Phyllis, fiery and defiant, refuses to be cowed by Nick's protective instincts, accusing him of underestimating her, of treating her like a reckless child instead of a seasoned strategist who has weathered more storms than most of Genoa City combined. And, though Nick pleads with her, insisting that jail, or worse, could be the price of aligning with Kane, Phyllis can't help but feel the allure of the challenge, the thrill of outsmarting the system, and the possibility of proving once and for all that she is still the sharpest mind in the game. Nick leaves the meeting with his warning hanging in the air, knowing deep down that Phyllis will not listen, that she has already stepped too far into Kane's orbit, and that he may not be able to save her from herself. Meanwhile, Kane Ashby continues to straddle the line between predator and penitent, his interactions with Lily Winters reflecting the duality of a man torn between his thirst for redemption and his hunger for power. In the park, their conversation leaves Lily shaken, her eyes shimmering with the ghosts of the man she once loved and the cold reality of the man he became. And though Kane insists that his emotional video was not a ploy but a genuine attempt to bare his soul, Lily remains skeptical, reminding him that sincerity is not proven by words or performances, but by actions, by consistency, by truth, by accountability. And until she sees that, she cannot risk opening her heart or their children's hearts to more disappointment. Kane listens, visibly wounded, but underneath his pained expression simmers a frustration that grows each time Lily doubts him, because though he longs to win her back, he also resents her resistance, and this inner conflict may be the very thing that drives him to lean harder into his darker impulses, making his partnership with Phyllis all the more dangerous. Elsewhere in Genoa City, quieter dramas unfold with equally devastating potential. Mariah Copeland, Still shaken after witnessing Daniel Romalotti Jr. and Tessa Porter's emotional moment in the park, finally confides in Sharon Newman, pouring out her insecurities, her regrets, and the gnawing fear that her marriage is slipping through her fingers. Sharon listens with compassion.